want to just say thank you to everybody for joining us tonight for this virtual legislative reception. We typically obviously do this in person, but changing things up a little bit like everybody else is. So my name is John Nearing. I'm the current board chair for Mainstream Republicans of Washington, and we're so very glad that you've joined us. It's really great to see you all virtually. And before handing it back to Nate for introductions and to get things started, I wanted to provide just a brief introduction on what Mainstream Republicans of Washington are all about. We are strong advocates of a Big Ten approach to Republican politics here. Our organization includes conservatives, it includes moderate Republicans. We don't have litmus tests of any kind, and we follow really the Ronald Reagan principle that the person who agrees with you 80% of the time is a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor. Among other things, this organization espouses the time-honored principles of the Republican Party. Those include individual freedom and responsibility, free enterprise and individual initiative, fiscal responsibility, equal opportunities and rights, and that the fact that the most effective and responsive government is that government which is closest to the people. And I think that's critical to remember as well as a strong national defense. So you can learn about us and about these and other issues that are close to Mainstream Republicans at WashingtonMainstream.org. We encourage you to go there and visit and learn more about us. But for tonight, we're excited about this legislative reception. And so back to you, Nate, to get the event started.
You're muted, Nate.
I am so happy to see a young person having this problem.
Thanks, JT. Appreciate it. I have the double mute going, mute on my phone and on the laptop. So hopefully this is better now. I'm Nate Nearing. I'm on the Snohomish County Council, and I'm also the vice chair of Mainstream, and I'll be running the program here tonight. And so I'm going to just start off by introducing and recognizing our elected officials who are here this evening. And I apologize in advance if I miss anybody. You can just let me know in the chat if there are other names to be recognized. But I'm going to run through our RSVP list here and recognize Senator Perry Dozier, Representative Matt Blanke, Representative Jenny Graham, Senator Ron Mizal, Representative Tom Dent, Representative Kelly Chambers, Representative Greg Gilday, Senator Jeff Wilson, Representative Mark Clicker, Representative Alex Ibarra, Senator Ann Rivers, Senator Junie Warnick, Representative Chris Corey, Representative Joel McIntyre, Representative Carolyn Eslick, Representative Joe Schmidt, Secretary of State Kim Wyman, and Spokane County Commissioner Mary Cuney. And with that, hopefully I didn't miss anyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with the program. We've got a couple of very special guests here this evening who are going to share a legislative update. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to have some time for Q&A afterward. Feel free to type your questions in the chat if you do have any questions that you'd like to be asked. And again, we just respectfully ask everyone to remain on mute while our speakers are presenting this evening.
Excuse me,
So our
Nate.
first, yeah.
Don't we have the mayor of Marysville on this call tonight too? Another elected official?
Yeah, we do have the Marysville mayor. Don't want to forget him. Thank you, Sam. So our first speaker tonight is going to be Senator John Braun, who leads the Senate Republican Caucus. Senator Braun was first elected to the Washington State Senate in 2012 to represent Southwest Washington's 20th legislative district. And that includes most of Cowlitz and Lewis counties, which along with parts of Clark and Thurston counties. John is the leader of the Senate Republican Caucus and a member of the Senate Ways and Means Committee and the Labor, Commerce, and Tribal Affairs Committee. He was the lead budget writer and negotiator while chairing the Senate Budget Committee in 2017, when he sponsored the state's 2017 to 19 operating budget. His work led to historic investments in the state's public education system and property tax reform, which will result in full state funding for basic education and a property tax reduction for 73% of state residents. He also sponsored and worked to pass the College Affordability Program in 2015, which included the first ever tuition cut at state colleges and universities. John is president of Braun Northwest, a family-owned company and business since 1986. The firm specializes in building emergency vehicles. Prior to his business career, John served on active duty in the U.S. Navy. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Washington and master's degrees in business administration and manufacturing engineering from the University of Michigan. With that, I will turn it over to you, Senator Braun.
Well, Nate, thank you for that kind and very long introduction. I always get uptight when they get too long, so we'll put that behind us. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for emceeing, and also to Mainstream just for putting this together. It's a challenge in these times to get to provide forums for us to get together and talk about what's going on, and I appreciate the work that went into it. I think if I understand, we got about a half an hour, and we got to give time for JT too. So I'll use up about 25 minutes. That's okay.
Very senatorial of you.
That's right. Just trying to be cooperative. And and I don't think I'll have a whole lot of surprises for this group. I'll just kind of hit the highlights. Our focus from the beginning of session was very similar to our focus for the last 12 months. It was, how do we find a way to safely get our businesses back open? How do we find a way to safely get our kids back in-person instruction? And then how do we live within our means, both, in the lows of last July when we thought we were going to be $9 billion short, and our enormous highs here in the last month, where on top of a fully balanced budget, robust budget, not an austerity budget in the least, we get roughly $10 billion in new money, from about half of that from the feds in the form of a stimulus, and the other half from a revenue forecast that goes up by $5.2 billion over the next 4 years. How do we do that in a way that doesn't create a bow wave that we can't afford in the future? So those have really been kind of the touchstones of where we've been working for the last 11 weeks. And we've made progress. I think we've continued to push the narrative and move things along, even if not exactly on the schedule we would like on reopening. The Republicans introduced the phase 3 that became ultimately, for all intents and purposes, the governor's phase 3. We haven't quite got into our phase 4, but we're working on that. And schools, we've been pushing on getting kids back in school since last summer and before. And we finally have the governor and others coming alongside. We're making progress with the large districts in central Puget Sound that have been holding out against all science and data, against all the negative harm to children being home away from school for nearly a year. We finally made progress. I heard today, I think that Bellevue finally settled with the union, so they're going to find a way to get back in school soon. So that's good news. Again, not on the schedule we would like, but we're going to keep pressure on, because these are things that are important to the state of Washington, for individuals and their families around the state. Next up, budget. As I said, we have a enormously unexpected situation on our hands right now. We have a lot more money than we expected. Much of that is one-time money. How do we spend it in a way that's thoughtful, that gets the best return for citizens around the state, and that we can afford in the future? And I would say, based on what I've seen, and I can't speak to the House budget, but the Senate budget, there are some things in there that we like and are one-time, but broadly, wildly overspends the money we have. Not only do they spend that $10 billion that we got in the last few weeks, they spend $2 billion in the rainy day fund on top of that. And some of it is one-time stuff that I think we could all agree on. There's some stuff for culverts and for fires. There's a little bit for the UI trust, but a whole lot of it is ongoing spending that's going to create a bow wave in the future. So I think we're going down the wrong road. That bill we just voted out of committee this evening, we're going to continue to push hard to find a way to make it better. But in the minority, there's only limited things we can do, which brings me really to my key point of being here this evening is, and then I'll turn it over to JT, is no matter what we do from the minority, elections matter. We can't stop. We do our best to stop the really bad things or make it less bad. But if we can't win the elections, if we can't find our way back to a majority, we're going to continue down this path of overspending, more taxes, more regulation, and ultimately we're just going to find folks around the state picking up and leaving the state of Washington because it's too expensive to live here. So on that happy note, I'll end and be happy to take questions after my good friend and associate in the other chamber, Representative JT Wilcox.
Great. Thank you, Senator Braun. And so we'll get to questions afterward. And JT, you'll have to bear with me. I think we got the bios off your guys' website, so you're gonna have to bear with a long bio too, because we want to make sure we get you introduced. So Representative JT Wilcox grew up on his family farm in rural Pierce County, where he still lives today. He's a graduate of Washington State University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in history. In 2011, he was sworn in as state representative for the 2nd Legislative District. JT currently serves as House Republican leader. Its legislative priorities include providing a quality education for children, crafting a sustainable state budget, and helping find sustainable solutions for homelessness, addiction, and hopelessness, all of which are crushing Washington's small towns and cities. For 23 years, JT was employed at his 5th-generation family business, Wilcox Farms, and in the 2000s, JT served as Chief Operating Officer and then Chief Financial Officer at Wilcox Farms. In his community, JT has been involved with the Roy Volunteer Fire Department, Pacific Education Institute, and the Nisqually River Basin Land Trust. He's a member of the Yelm Lions Club and Graham Business Association. While not in session, JT works as a consultant at his firm Wilcox Strategies and also works with his daughter at her company. His favorite moments are the ones he shares with family on the farm or on the banks of the Nisqually River. And with that, I will turn it over to Representative JT Wilcox. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Nate. And like John, every time I hear that, I think, God, I've got to get someone to rewrite that thing and cut it down to about a quarter. First of all, I'd like to recognize one of my really valued colleagues, Carolyn Eslick, representative from the 39th District. And Carolyn is a perfect example of a mainstream Republican. Republicans didn't used to have a lot of the House Republican caucus. I mean, didn't used to have a lot of local government in it. And you can overdo a good thing, but it also means a lot to me to have these people that have had to solve problems in the past. And those of you that know me know that I have never really lived in a city or even a town. I live in the county, and the farther away we can get from local government, the better we like it. But in contrast to the state level, people that have been involved in local government have to solve problems. And it's a really good perspective to have in our caucus. And I'm just so glad to have Carolyn and others like her join us. The other thing that I'd like to say is John and I are really good friends. We've got a ton in common. We talk, it seems like every other day or so. And although there used to be a lot of rivalry between the House and the Senate Republicans, in fact, I might have said a few times that if you leave the House Republican caucus and go to the Senate, you're dead to me. That's not the way it feels anymore. We recruit for each other. Well, except for Chris Gildon, none of them are dead to me. But we are a team. Like I have never seen in my now about 11 years. And I think a lot of it is because John doesn't know anything, but how do we own the result? And that is something that you learn in business. And it's something that I think mainstreamers understand pretty well. So I want to start with the idea that we care about the results. It's not just politics. John and I are people that are going to be in this for a few more years, and then we're going to be done. Neither one of us are going to be in Congress. We're not going to run for president. We don't have a vision from God. I don't look down my nose at people that do. But we're here for a small time to do the best possible job we can. And then we go back to, the other life that in some ways is a whole lot better. One of the things that I appreciate about mainstream, and by the way, I'm not going to talk a bunch about legislation. John covered that well. He and I have pretty much the same interests. He's a lot more of a budget guy than I am, but I ran for office for one reason. I wanted to be part of writing budgets. But there's nothing that I can add to what he has to say. I have learned over my 11 years now that the party's a lot more important than I thought it was. I never really was a party activist. I was a PCO once and got totally rolled over by the Robertson people at the Pierce County Convention, and thought that I could spend productive years in the legislature without really having to worry so much about a party. But I have discovered that it is far more important than I ever imagined that it would be, both from the perspective of producing good things and from creating a lot of turmoil that makes it really hard to accomplish things from a right of center perspective. And I've also learned that occupying the middle spot, like most mainstreamers do, is the most dangerous thing that you can do. I don't know if it was always like that. I don't know if Dan Evans felt like that. But nowadays, although the people on either fringe like to thump their chests and talk about how courageous they are, it's not hard to be left or right, to be willing to compromise, to talk about compromise, to reach across the aisle, to consider the other point of view, like all of you do. That's the dangerous place to stand. And folks that do that are under attack all the time. They get primaried, and they get called a lot of names by campaign managers for people that ran for state office. So all of you that are elected and are willing to occupy that space, thank you. That is the right space to be. I don't discount the people that are farther left or farther right, because they're absolutely necessary to their caucuses. You need to have that hard rock conservative. Otherwise, it's too easy to go too far left. But at the same time, those who are willing to compromise are the ones that I respect the most. And I think they're the ones that potentially, not right now maybe, but potentially can accomplish the absolute most. Sorry, I saw a comment there, and for a moment I thought it said, "I've never seen anyone so full of manure as Wilcox," but it actually was a little more complimentary than that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the party stuff. We can't do without the Republican Party. The Republican Party is in a tough spot right now. I don't have a background there, but I've really embraced the fact that John and I need to do this. I never aspired to be a spokesman for Republicans other than the House Republican Caucus. But it turns out that when you are in a deep minority and you don't have very many statewide Republicans elected, John and I and Kim are expected to speak for Republicans in Washington. And that is a strange place to be, because Republicans aren't quite sure what they are right now. But it's our job to try to bring cohesion to this. And I think both be a voice for all parts of the Republican Party, and at the same time, I think do our best to be an example for people that are groping to understand how do we bring this party back. So I'm just going to share a few things that we're trying to do. And John and I don't think have any secrets. We share most of our contacts. Something that I've been doing all this year, well, actually it goes back to 2 years ago when we started working up for the 2020 elections. We do it's about every 2-week call with most of the county Republican chairs in Washington. And a lot of them are new, a lot of them are very enthusiastic, and we try hard to share our perspective. And I think our perspective is we care about Republican activists, but we're the people that have to produce, more members of the Republican Party in the House and Senate. And that means that you have to be concerned about a much broader swath than just Republican activists. And I continually try to share that with our county chairs. You cannot simply represent the activists. If you're going to be successful, you have to be part of electing people in swing districts. And that means that you have a broader perspective than maybe your PCOs do. And it's a long project. We have a text thread that involves, I think, about 30 of the 39 county chairs, John and I and a few others. And we're constantly sharing with them what's going on in the legislature, and sometimes trying to move the needle a little bit in terms of their approach to how you talk to Republicans. We do the same thing with a variety of private sector stakeholders. we have some great allies. Jim Waldo, I think, is the the old pro. He's been doing this for 2 generations, and he has taught people like me. I know John's close to him, and others, Steve Gordon, for example, how to do this. And we've built a group around them. It's also very close to the Policy Center. We try to stay as close to them as we possibly can. This is a business perspective, but it's kind of the courageous business person perspective. It's not, corporate people that are going to move in and out of the Northwest. These are mostly folks that have built large, medium-sized and large, sometimes very large private companies, and are more than willing to put their reputations and their dollars on the line for us. Of course, we talk to the private sector lobbyists. They're the ones that help fund a lot of our programs, and we can't ignore them, but we also have to let them know that we're not going to be with them in every single case. And I had a painful conversation today where I sided with one of my ranking members, probably not exactly on the right side in this, but I'm not going to roll. Very loyal people who are valuable parts of my caucus and are capable of learning. I'm not going to mention a name because I don't want it to get back to that person. But I just told a very prominent private sector lobbyist that this time you're going to have to lose, and he understood. And then last, another set of allies that I think some of you are close to, some of you might be surprised to hear. One of my missions in life is to make sure that Washington's tribes understand that they have more than one option. And the truth is, Republicans in the House and Senate, in many cases, have far more in common with Washington state tribes than the Democrats do. And they are best served by being independent, not being in the pocket of either side. And I'm more than anxious to help them, and I am more than anxious to let them know that their considerable resources should be deployed on our side in very many cases. So I gave you kind of the nitty-gritty political part of this. John gave you the legislative part, and I'm looking forward to questions.
Great. Thank you very much, JT and John. I really appreciate that. And so for those that have questions, feel free to type them into the chat box, but we'll just jump right into it here. And JT and John, you can do whatever you like if you both want to answer, if you want to tag team, whatever works best for you both. The first question is from Deanna Martinez, and it says, what, if anything, can we as non-elected officials do now that bills have passed out of committees in the Senate and in the House, I would think? Are we still able to let all legislators know where we stand on bills that are up for floor debate?
I'll defer to the Senate.
All right. Well, absolutely you can. It's not over until it's all over. So don't let up. I encourage folks, we're going to get, well, let me back up a second. We're in a very unusual session. It is harder than normal in many ways to get a hold of legislators. It's harder for legislators to get a hold of each other sometimes because you don't just run into them in the aisleway or step in the wings and chat for a moment. So, but nonetheless, keep reaching out right to the end. It's going to be exciting. We still have a lot of bad bills in front of us, a few good bills, but mostly bad bills. And the more you reach out, the more you provide perspective, the better. Now, if you're reaching out to me or one of the folks in my caucus on a bill that we already are dead set against, it's probably not going to make much difference. If you're reaching out to folks on the other side, if you happen to be in their district, you might make a difference. If you want, advice on how to best make a difference, then reach out to us, and we can hopefully tell you the right people to call. It might be that 25th vote that you can, get to go yes or go no, depending on the bill. So that's in a short snippet, my answer.
Well, my answer, first of all, is Deanna. I cannot tell you how much I admire you. I watch you on social media. I know that you've been a huge help to Alex Ibarra, who I just am so happy to have in my caucus. But I also see you standing up for things that are absolutely true and getting all kinds of abuse because you believe in masks. You believe that COVID is a thing. And you're standing up to people that are just unwilling to accept these basic true things. So thank you for not being discouraged. I really appreciate it. Don't give up. And to all the rest of you, be like Deanna. Next.
You're making me blush in front of a whole lot of people, JT. I thank you for your encouragement and your kind words.
Yeah, well, courageous people that don't have an office need the most encouragement because they don't get any of the fun. They get all the abuse. So thank you, Deanna. And thanks for helping us bring Alex into our caucus. I strongly encourage people to reach out to your network and activate them for a couple of reasons. First of all, although I don't really get any sense right now that Democrats are listening to anybody, I think they're feeling very courageous and empowered. I would love to have a bunch of people ask who believe in Democrats, ask them to do reasonable things and then be disappointed. Nothing is more powerful than reaching out to your local Democratic legislator and finding out that they don't care what you think.
All right, thank you. Luis, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I have a comment about the budget. So I assume that's okay.
Go
The
for it.
House. Yes, can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. The House just came out with the budget and it includes something that the Senate did not have in theirs that I think is really important in terms of one-time spending. John, I heard you about one-time spending, no follow through. So that's what this category is. Has to do with where we are with arts, heritage, and science nonprofit organizations who were the first to have to close down. They'll be the last to be able to open up. The House has put 25 million in the budget for them. It's something that's going to be administered by the Department of Commerce. And it's basically going to favor some of the smaller organizations all around the state. So in a lot of Republican districts, this is going to be money that will literally save their museum or save their orchestra, et cetera. And that is because it's focused on smaller organizations. As to the 2019 season for an organization, you have to be an organization that had 5 million or less, and it could be a lot less, to participate in this program. And the grant limit is $75,000. So we could help a lot of small organizations to get themselves ready to open up again, because it's going to take some special work for that. So I'm hoping the Senate will be supportive of this. The House already has it in their version.
I don't know. I'll thank you for the comment. I think the only thing I would say to that is we did add in the Senate budget a business sector lead for the arts and just this evening in committee. So I think it may be a different approach to helping this sector, rebound from the pandemic, but a common understanding of the challenge we have in front of us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Luis. So it looks like Herb has a question and then Dr. Garcia after that. Go ahead, Herb.
Hi, thank you. Hi, JT. Hi, everybody. It's good to see y'all. I just have a question about what my observation has been and experience has been during this session. Of course, with COVID and everything, it's much harder to talk to people, to get in touch with people and what have you. But as both a lifelong Republican and Republican activist, and also as an elected union rep for the railroad workers, it seems like things are much more partisan than they used to be, or than they were last year. It's harder to get people to return my calls. Bills that were previously that I worked hard to make bipartisan seem to be much more partisan. And it seems like I'm having a hard time getting traction with my members of my own party. So I'm just curious, is it your impression that it's more partisan this year because of the COVID pandemic and the situation that we're in? It's just harder to talk to people, or what's going on? I'm curious. Thank you.
Well, I guess I hung John with the first answer the last time. Yeah, I think telephones make it easier to miss people. You know, one thing that has happened in my caucus, a lot of us have been doxxed. You know, Kim and I, and maybe John repeatedly by Republicans. I don't do voicemails anymore. And I said, there's times when I'm being doxxed that I don't answer the phone if I don't recognize the number. Now, Herb, I would recognize yours. I think I've got them programmed in. Well, that's an evil laugh. You know, other members of my caucus who are not used to taking this kind of heat, you know, were all named because they had the temerity to accept contributions from, you know, pharmaceutical companies. Thank God for pharma. You know, we're at 73%, I think, of people over 65 vaccinated now. So the death rate is going down a mile. But according to, you know, the campaign manager for Chief Culp, that means that we're all sellouts. And so all of his folks should be ringing our phones off the hook. So there's that. That's probably not the biggest problem. I think there is a great deal more partisanship. There's a lot less communication. I don't know. I think people should return calls, but I'm sure I've missed plenty of them. If you want Herb, you know, you spent a few years, Herb, getting a lot of good bills. You know, it may not be quite as easy right now because you've taken the low-hanging fruit, but that doesn't mean that people don't owe you the courtesy of calling you and sharing their opinion.
Another question?
Yeah, I think Dr. Garcia was next. Go ahead, Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, John. Well, to John and JT, I want to first thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for being leaders of our state. As you said, you know, you are asked to talk for the Republican Party all the time, and my wish is that you continue to increase the tent, right, to include more people in it. And I think that I can speak for a lot of people in this call, that the Republican Party has many views and really is for the common good of the state of Washington. And I think that you're doing a fantastic job in that. And I want to encourage you to continue to keep increasing the tent and bringing people in that really share our values and that have been outcast in the past. But the second most important thing that I want to say is that, you know, a lot of us in the community still work to make the state better. And if you have an initiative that really you want to push through, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You know, you mentioned Deanna already, who's phenomenal. And some of us have managed to now get a lot of followers on social media to get these initiatives through and to help you make your job easier. So please don't hesitate to do that.
Well, thank you, Raul. We have to be careful how much we talk about initiatives and or referendums during the session and on legislative time. But I think one thing I would say along those lines is, as we become more divided and politicized within the legislature, and we certainly are, in my opinion, this is the most divided I've seen us in my 9 years here. It becomes more and more likely, in my opinion, that folks resort to the initiative or the referendum process to reach average Washingtonians. We have efforts in the legislature this year to add emergency clause on bills because they know the people won't agree and they might take it to referendum or initiative. And they're consciously talking about that is frankly unbelievable to me. You'd think that they would listen and say, wait, the people don't like this. Maybe even if I think it's a good idea, if broadly it's unsupported by the people of the state of Washington, it's probably not a good idea. Nonetheless, that's where we're at right now. So I appreciate the offer. There's going to be a lot of work for us all to do when we get through this session. But at the moment, I'm kind of focused directly on the things we have in front of us between now and sine die, and how do we stop the worst stuff if possible, or make it slightly less bad if necessary.
Well, Raul, I wasn't sure if you were talking about actual initiatives or just efforts. Yeah, we have to get a little specific in our jobs, and I hope when I leave this world, I never hear another set of initials for things. The trivia around here is endless. Yeah, Ralph understands that. And Raul, there's no end of people that I need to start reaching out to, and you and Deanna should be at the top of my list. So thank you for the reminder of that. I know that you're going to be a tremendous help in these things. And let me just, this isn't what you were talking about, but it's something that's absolutely top of mind for me. And it's a place where mainstream should be leading, and I think is fully capable of leading if the rest of the Republican Party can understand that because it's mainstream, it doesn't mean that they have to resent it. Anyone with a brain understands. Gosh, I think I'm repeating something that you might have said, Raul, on the campaign trail. Anyone with a brain understands that unless you want to be a permanent minority, you can't think that we are going to be the party of the middle-aged, chubby white guy farmers. If we don't do better with women, and if we don't do better with people of color, who in so many cases agree with us on so many issues, as do Washington's tribes, we're just wasting our time. And I didn't get into this to expend 10 years of my life in futile endeavors. And I don't think anyone else on this call did either. And if I could propose a mission for mainstream, first of all, I think you should change your name, because it really turns everybody off. They feel like it excludes them. But besides that, there is no better mission than helping to bring in female voters and people of color who share all of our values, except for the fact that the Republican Party has been so successfully demonized. And I don't think that it's undoable. I think Democrats are our best friends in many ways right now. And if we can help the rest of the Republican Party understand that they're wasting their lives too, unless they embrace this, we can be successful. It's the only route.
Thank you. Next, we've got Jim Waldo, and then we're going to come back to Ralph. Go ahead, Jim.
Couple of quick things. First of all, I really liked Luke's picture from his early days. I was confused. I thought it was a movie star, but then I realized it was just Luke right out of college. On a more serious note, I want to thank all of the legislators on this call and public officials, because I know that many of you are feeling you're not in charge, you're in a minority. We have some people in our own party that make it even harder for you to have the impact that you want to have. And I just want you to know how much we appreciate it. You know, when people ask me, how can you be enthusiastic about being a Republican these days, I say, look at our legislative leadership, look at Kim Wyman, look at our 3 members of Congress, and tell me why it is I shouldn't be excited about the caliber of people that are in our legislative caucuses, our state official, and our congressional members. So I just want all of you to know that it's not easy. It's never easy, but I think it's particularly challenging now. And my aspiration over the next period of years, and this year local elections, next year the legislature, 2 years after that statewide, is that we're going to elect the people, continue to elect the people, only put them in a majority, so you all get to govern. And, you know, this state has every reason to be optimistic about its future if we have people in elective office who believe in the people of this state, not in being telling them what to do, but giving them the opportunities to do things. So I know so many of you, I look at the other people who aren't in elective office in this, and I see a whole group of impact players. So whether it's a league of our own for women candidates, whether it's mainstream, whether it's the efforts that Alex and Raul and Deanna are doing in the Hispanic community, and the things that JT talked about. I know in Central Washington, we're got a big initiative going with the Catholic Church and the Hispanic community, and Republicans and Democrats on vaccination. So I just want to say, I'm going to look at people on this call and others who couldn't make it today and say, we got plenty of talent to do this thing. So not only let's not give up, let's go get in a majority so we get to decide some of these issues rather than play defense. But I just want to tell you how proud I am of all of you that are serving, and many of you that I see on this phone that are doing everything you can to help them. It's a great sight. Thank you.
Well said. That's Ralph. Can you hear me?
No, can't hear you, Ralph. Sorry. I don't think anybody can hear Ralph, can you?
You know, no matter how long ago you were in public office, people still walk up to you and say, why can't you solve this or solve that? And I just wanted to tell JT and John and the others that the issue I'm hearing the most about, believe it or not, out there in the street just wandered around, is litter on the freeways and litter on the highways. And I'm just wondering did anybody put money back into the budgets for the litter patrols or the people that pick up the litter along the roads? It's just an issue. I think it's making a lot of people mad. And if we can solve it, it probably makes people pretty happy.
Well, without going into all the details on litter in the budget, and partly because I don't know them all, but I would tell you we are making progress there. But I want to call out one person who's on the call. I think Jeff Wilson still on. Not only is he fighting for more money in the budget for picking up litter, he's out there almost every weekend himself picking up litter. He has really brought a whole new view to the Republican Party, because he's out there finding volunteers to go out there and pick up litter, not only in his own district. He calls me every other weekend, it seems like, and asks me if it's okay to pick up litter in my district. And I'm like, yeah, sure, be my guest, all you want. But my point is, he's not just saying it, he's doing it, and he deserves, I think, a lot of credit for doing it. People are going to recognize that we're not just talking about solving things, we are solving things, even from the minority. So good job to Jeff Wilson, and thanks for bringing that up, Ralph.
Does anybody know if those litter patrols got funded or not?
You've got to be more specific than that. I can just say yes, but you'll never be able to prove me right or wrong. Which litter patrols?
Well, we used to have money that came from industry that paid for the litter crews at Department of Ecology, and then when the Democrats took control, they swept all that money. And I just wonder, has that program been redesigned? I understand if you don't know, but I just wonder if anybody's heard or knows.
Ralph, I haven't heard from Jen G yet, so I'm guessing that it's in there, because otherwise she would be hot on our trail.
Okay, thank you.
So that was put back into the litter patrols, I believe, about 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that previous misdeed has been undone.
Well, there's something wrong out there then, because the highways are filthy. But we can go on to another subject. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Ralph. So there's several questions about the capital gains tax. So I wonder if you could both touch on that, both what we can do to fight against it, and then what kind of can of worms it might open if it did survive a legal challenge.
Well, I would say encourage everyone to call their Democratic legislators. I can promise you that there's 41 Republican votes against it in the House, and you've all seen how many there are in the Senate. I see zero evidence that Democrats are going to back down on these things. It's in both budgets. There's absolutely no case for it. And they switch from reason to reason. First of all, we need the money. Bullshit. We're not even close to needing the money. We've got the opposite problem. There's way too much money for our good when the federal dollars run out. Next, they try to say that it's all about equity and a progressive system. Well, both House and Senate Republicans included the only program that actually addresses the lower end of the economic spectrum by funding a tax cut for low-income working families. Democrats never did that, not once. So we have solved that problem. They have followed us now and authorized that. There's no reason to do it except pure ideology and the fact that so many of them promised that. I think that they're going to vote for it. We're going to do everything we can to stop it. And nothing could make me happier than another 100,000 wealthy progressives calling their Democratic representatives, demanding that they vote no, and then finding out that they don't care.
I don't know how to top that, but I think that, as JT said, this thing is coming down the rails, and it's going to make it to the governor. I think the one possible chance, and not to say that the House can't stop it, but maybe you got it passed out of the Senate by one vote. If you can find one Democrat to switch sides, that's one chance, but it's 1 in 99. I think they've already decided what they're going to do, and it's not about needing the money. This is all about ideology. So now we have to focus on how do we fight it after that, and there's a lot of work going on already to put together a legal challenge, and that'll go on for a while. But also then what best way to respond, whether it's with a referendum or with an initiative. But you can expect there'll be a lot of work off campus in both before and after session with folks putting together a chance for the people to weigh in. And then it's going to be up to us to take that message out to people and say, well, look, 10 times previous to this, you said you didn't want an income tax. Have you changed your mind? And my bet is they haven't, that they still don't want an income tax, and that we're on the right side of this issue.
Awesome. Thank you both. Next one is from Anthony Hemstad in the chat. He says, for the GOP to gain majorities again in the legislature, we have to start winning more districts in the suburbs of King, Pierce, and Snohomish again. Realistically, the types of candidates who can actually win those seats are mainstreamers. Unfortunately, many party activists now see mainstreamers as rhinos. How do you think we best go about finding unity? P.S. Thanks for being here tonight and for your great comments.
Well, first of all, I would second JT's comment earlier, not to be decisive, but we need to think about the name for mainstream, because I do think you exclude people that you don't mean to exclude. But you started off the night by saying, the Reagan principle of people that agree with you 80% of the time are allies, not 20% traitors. And I believe they build that, but there is a perception that we got to get over. Next, we got to push back on candidates that do divide us. And we've had a number of those in recent history. JT alluded to it, and we've all felt some pressure from recent gubernatorial candidates, one in particular that wants to kick out the folks in the party that he didn't agree with all the time. And that's not going to get us to success. And so we got to be a little bit firmer in our convictions that we want to include everyone, and that we don't all have to agree all the time. And then we're going to have to present a view of the Republican Party in the suburbs that isn't demonized. And that is frankly, it's a tall order, but there are people who have done that. And frankly, I think that 2022 is going to be, things swing. That's not a surprise to anybody here. Things swing with national politics. And I think 2022 will be a better year for us, but we have to show that we have the ability to govern more responsibly. And I think one of the big things we did this year that didn't get a lot of press immediately, but undergirds everything we do, is both the House and the Senate put together full budgets that showed how we would govern, how we would spend this money, what we would do in terms of letting people keep their own money and make their decisions for themselves, investing in solutions that helped all of Washington, help the least among us, but don't run off the best among us. Bring everybody together. If we can present that to the state of Washington, that we are a party that includes everyone, then we have a real chance. But to do that, we got to pull together. That means we can't exclude people because we don't agree all the time, which again, that's what you guys started off with. So I think you're on the right track. We just got to keep building folks that will do that around the state.
Okay, well, I'll just go back and reemphasize something that John Braun said. Imagine a state that had Linda Wilson and Drew Stokesbury writing budgets. That's the dream team. I'm a little disillusioned, honestly, with the former Ivy League dream team of Hill and Ross Hunter. I want people from the middle and from not the Ivy League, and those people could do so much for the state of Washington, especially with John Braun pulling the budget strings. But next, there's a simple answer to that question. Go out and recruit. I'm sick right now because I've got 3 potential open seats, and I'm pretty sure that they're already locked up with middle-aged chubby farmers. And by the way, the 3 that are probably going to be part of this are great people. I don't not want them. I just think, why the hell are we missing these opportunities for diversity in districts that might be easy? And so I would like to ask all of you to do 2 major things. Go out and recruit in districts, people that have diversity, people that are from the center and can win, and do it early, and then get money behind them. Okay, so then you don't have to go crush people that are activists. You just preempt them. That's the way to do this without creating a schism in the party. So please, any place that is viable, go out and start recruiting and get them money, get them in early, get them big dollars early, and help us out. That doesn't mean that we're not going to be recruiting too, but you cannot believe how often we are preempted by somebody that can surely win a primary and not win a general. There is no better role for mainstream Republicans than this.
Great thoughts. Thank you. There's another couple of questions on the low carbon fuel standard. If you could share your thoughts on that and the potential impact it's going to have on Washington State.
I guess it's my turn to go first. Man, how many hours do you want? I think we've had about 20 hours of debate already on this. It sucks. It accomplishes nothing or almost nothing for the environment. It sends almost all the money out of state. It is the most regressive thing that you could do that is viable to the state of Washington. And it probably destroys any of the other options, if it's enacted, that would actually raise money to build infrastructure for Washington. There's nothing good about this. And why I should not have high expectations for Jay Inslee, although there are a small number of things that I kind of respect about him. But this is probably the worst thing that he tries to do. Accomplishes nothing, and it builds nothing. It just closes off options that we might have to actually create infrastructure in our state.
Not much to add to that in a summary. Terrible bill, terrible idea, and regressive, tax with no upside, hard on the very people they claim to be caring about. And back to the point of the question about suburbs, if we could successfully explain what this is doing to people living in poverty, we win in this. We win with those groups because this is harmful to the very people they say they're out to help.
Thank you both. We've got time for one more question, and then we're going to go back to John for details on an upcoming event. So, Kat Rudolph, I'm going to ask you to close us out here with questions.
Okay. I am one of the League of Our Own commissioners, and so is Aaron Richards, who's on this call. And we would like to cooperate with both caucuses on making sure we help you recruit strong women candidates. So I'm just letting you know that we're out here and we're working hard. And the lovely Kim Wyman is one of our honorary co-chairs. So we have kind of a dream team at the top. We have Kim Wyman, and we have Jamie Herrera Butler, and we have Kathy McMorris Rogers as the co-chairs. So we have some strength at the top, and we've raised a fair amount of money. So I'm just letting you know there's some hope on the horizon for something other than chubby white guy farmers out there.
Thank God.
We just generalize middle-aged white guy, middle-aged being a little bit kind. We need your help. That's all I'll say. We need your help. Look forward to it.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll really appreciate. Oh, go ahead, JT.
Let me just jump in for a sec. Catherine, I know that this doesn't apply to you, but the stereotype of women candidates is you have to ask them over and over and over. Don't wait. Get your candidates in there aggressively. You are already our default go-to when we find out about an opening, but be ready to jump immediately and muscle your way in.
Well, we've got a very good list going, and we have people who are going to run for school boards and other places that train good candidates for the future. And we also have people who are interested in the legislature per se.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got great Republican women in both caucuses, and some of them are on here, but man, do we need more. It's going to take some hard-nosed, aggressive politics to make it happen, because entitlement is a thing, and it certainly is a thing around Republicans. So let's make it an honest contest, and may the best man or woman win.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for your time. Really appreciate it. Senator Braun, Representative Wilcox, and all the senators and representatives who are on the call tonight. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. And please let us know however we can help you out in your efforts. But please keep up the great work, and thank you. I'm going to turn it over to John to close us out here.
Yeah, I'll second that, Nate. What a great event this was, and really want to thank Representative Wilcox and Senator Braun. We're really proud to have you representing our party down there in Olympia. It's greatly appreciated, and great answers to the question. I especially appreciated that on the capital gains tax cut, where JT talked about that there seemed to be a wash in money down there, and the fact that we're looking to raise taxes is really mind-numbing. Anyway, before we close, I'd like to take this opportunity to update you all just a couple quick things briefly. First of all, MRW is looking to hire an intern this summer, and our program director, Aaron McCoy, will post the website link here in the chat for you. If you could help us spread the word, that'd be a real huge help. We're trying to get a lot of qualified applicants in, so please do forward that on to whoever might be interested. And secondly, wanted to update you on a really great upcoming event. Please join us for this. Upcoming on May the 20th at 7 p.m. That's May 20th at 7 p.m. We are hosting a Secretary of State event. And so this is designed to honor our current Secretary of State, Kim Wyman, and 3 former Secretaries of State, Sam Reed, Ralph Monroe, and Bruce Chapman. It'll be a great evening to chat with them about the important role that this office plays in Washington State and how it really has become a Republican stronghold along the West Coast. So this is going to be a fantastic time, an opportunity to discuss also really timely and relevant issues related to this particular office. So I know that there'll be a lot involved in that. Bring your questions, and look forward to a great evening, May 20th at 7 p.m. Individual tickets for this event are $25. You have the option to purchase a table of 10 for a discounted rate at $200 for the table full. And then there's an option for a VIP ticket for $250. And that includes access to the virtual VIP reception with Secretary Kim Wyman just before the event. a great opportunity to ask her some questions about her recent travels during the past post-presidential election timeframe. So more details will be provided in the chat feature of today's program and on our website at www.mrwalliance.org. Erin will also email everybody that was on here tonight with a link to sign up. So you should get that sometime tomorrow. Great event. Hope to see you there. Thank you again for attending tonight's event. We really do appreciate it. As we've transferred our events to virtual, just like everybody else, it sure is heartening to see the amount of people that are attending. And Representative Wilcox, Senator Braun, thank you again I know that this is the busiest time of the year for these guys. I know they're working 7 days a week, and to take an evening out for MRW to answer these important questions was really, really kind of you. We appreciate it. We look forward to the times when we'll be able to get to see you guys live again and do a live day like we typically do. So with that, I'll go ahead and bid everybody a good evening. Thank you from Mainstream Republicans of Washington for attending. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.